And we'll start the video as well for the SWL roll call and the Tube Radio check-ins. I think I'll keep it all in one shot on the video. We'll re-up the audio stream for the archives. Hello at 8:01 Pacific time, the old Tube Radio Network. Thanks for joining us here, whether you are at 27085, which is the RF zone, wherever that may be here in Central California, or perhaps you are at oldtuberadio.net, which would be the audio stream, and perhaps at the YouTube video right there, watching as we do the roll call, and hopefully as we check in some tube radios tonight. Reminding you that the purpose of OTR is to promote the use and distribute information about old tube radios here on your 11-meter citizen band radio service. We start with the directed net roll call of the shortwave listeners. In about 30 minutes, we will have the old tube radio check-ins parading across your radio or your universal media net web device. The radios from 1958 to 1978 for the Class D 11-meter citizen radio service that typically, at least most certainly, the ones we'll be checking in tonight with the vacuum tubes. So thanks for joining us. I'm using the jacket tonight that came with the 1969 E.F. Johnson Messenger 223. You got the free jacket to go with the radio. So I think I'm in fine style here for our radios coming by tonight. My name is Dennis, and hopefully you'll be meeting our shortwave listeners and tube radio operators as we get started. If I can find the list, which is right here. We go to the top of the page for 00, chosen from those with perfect attendance for the last 8-week roster. This is week 5, 11/24/2018. I hope everybody is continuing to have a fine and dandy Thanksgiving holiday shopping extravaganza, or maybe you haven't done any shopping yet, like me. Although I did step into, where was it? J.C. Penney's to see if I could update, get my jacket tailored, and I think I counted, and this is the truth. I counted one line of 56 people standing, and there was one check person. So I figured that was probably a good 2-hour wait for somebody in that store. Let's see if 00 is on frequency tonight.
Hello, Dennis. 00 checking in.
00 checking in. We'll get the check mark saying that you are checked in. Thanks, Bob. And we will catch you at 53. Thanks for getting us started off tonight.
Okay.
Let's see. Before I go too far, let me say hello to the digital listeners tuning in tonight. Way up in the balcony. We'll start from there. Hello, Maryland, Fresno, Connecticut, Oakland, California. Ohio is in, Illinois, Utah, Georgia, New Jersey, Virginia, Edmonton, Alberta, Hendersonville, Tennessee coming up to you shortly. Looks like Big Ben is in from the UK, Austin, Texas. Over on the video side, hello to Crazy Bob DJ, who does a good job on a vintage Facebook page, and also has a very great collection, a nice collection of tube radios. Thanks, Bob, for tuning in. Looks like you might have another Saturday off. I know how it is when you work for those places that do not close. I had to fill in for the Tuesday morning DJ this week, and so I've paid my dues to the FM broadcast gods. OBP will be up to you in just a moment. And thanks. He says the jacket looks sharp. I'm sure it did in 1970 as well. Over to SWL number 1. That's the eternal check-in for Dr. J, one of the founding people of this particular happening that is going on today, followed by yet another station that was able to come up with an idea. It's like, why don't we get these tube radios all together in one spot and have a good time? And we are still doing it 34 years later. Mr. OBP, hello, Kevin. Thanks for being out there and checking in tonight. Over to SWL3. I've got a proxy check-in for Rob tonight. Over to SWL4. SWL5, Ida, Mama Rose, one of the net controllers here at the old Tube Radio Network. might have heard her voice on the airwaves if you frequented us, at least early on in our 34-year history here. I've got to get my headphones set up or they're going to go crashing onto the floor. So 5 is checked in. SWL6. SWL7.
SWL7 checking in.
SWL7 listening in on the new radio tonight, and if you stick around for the tube radio portion, you will find an interesting thing happening with your display screen as some of the old radios check in and shift frequency. You'll see the waterfall move or maybe gradually drift one way or the other. That'll be fun. So any comments on frequency moving or shifting, we'll take those and run with them because you've got the device. Thanks for checking in.
And thank you.
I have to do it the old-fashioned way: is press the sideband button and see where the zero beat is going. SWL 11 and 12 checked in via email over to SWL 13. And sometimes Mike checks in at oldtuberadio.net, which is a way to do it. If you've got a Facebook account, you can actually check in and leave comments through your Facebook account. I think it will allow you to type and say things on the page, and we appreciate that. We appreciate our listeners that come in and let us know what's going on, where they're at, give us information about radios, and most importantly, correct the net controller here when he is making those novice mistakes, telling you about the radios. SWL 14, SWL 15, checked in earlier. Mr. Desert Rat, one of the net controllers here on the old Tube Radio Network. Like, I guess a lot of the net controllers in the top here, 2 and 7 and 3 and 1 and 15. And they're all kind of, it must be that net controller privilege. Back in the days when you could change your number around if you had perfect attendance, it worked out pretty good. Let's see if we've got SWL 16. And you know what I'm going to do? Enough of seeing me. We're going to switch over to the S meter. So if you're watching online, you'll be able to give yourself a signal report here on the old Tube Radio Network. Did we call 17? No, SWL 17. SWL 17, also one of the net controllers here at OTR. SWL 18. SWL 19. SWL 20.
Just got here in time. Number 20, check in 29, and please proxy me in for next week when I'm working and I get to miss the Bulldog game.
Oh man, double whammy. Well, you know you can take your portable device along and sneak an earful of the old Tube Radio Network every now and then next week. Thanks for checking in, and perhaps we'll catch you on the Tube Radio side.
Yeah, but the TV I could bring along is very heavy. It's got tubes in it, and I don't think I can watch it. Okay, catch you after a while.
Okay, that's why you should bring the smaller device and catch the old Tube Radio Network. Thank you. SWL 21, JT is checked in. He is recovering from some major surgery, but he is back. He is back at home and wanted to get to bed early and recuperate, and that's a good thing. So got him checked in. And if you're watching JT, we're glad you are on the recovery road, and we'll look forward to having you checking in here and get back on the air with the old radio night as well. Over to SWL 22, SWL 23, shortwave listener 24.
24, checking in.
Wow, 10 over. Nice loud signal tonight to Joseph. We've got you checked in. Thanks for listening to the old Tube Radio Network. SWL 25. that was interesting. Was that a check-in from 25? Okay, I think that's a 25 check-in, but the radio is doing something very unusual. I hope what I'm hearing, I would imagine that there's massive flames going on right now. That's what it sounds like I'm hearing, but I hope that is not the case. You are checked in, and hopefully we will get some more information on the situation out that way. Thanks, SWL25. Net controller on the 10-meter net on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific time at 28,445. If you're in the zone, listen in for that. Taking us over to page 2 for SWL27. SWL, let's see, nothing there. SWL29, we've got a proxy check-in from Mr. Loner. SWL, and we don't have anybody there. SWL31, and I know I did see Hendersonville, Tennessee in the mix tonight. Let me double check as they make their way up to the front row. I don't know. They've been one of our first, Robert and Teresa, one of our first digital listeners, so they know how to work the board quite well as having a great tube radio collection, some of which I believe there are photos. If you can find them, search over at the Old Tube Radio Network Facebook page, and you will see some of the items of interest out of their collection. Thank you, 31. Over to SWL 32. And I'm going to give 32 checked in. I did hear him or someone talking about him on... and they were saying good stuff, by the way, on one of the FM channels, FM frequencies. So Mr. Doyle checked in. SWL 33, that is the gang around here. That is I think I've always been SWL 33 around here. Bozo Control, the Jingle Singers, Mr. Announcer, whoever happens to walk in, and it looks like they are ready to go. We were testing out the links and the wires earlier, and it looks like everything is good there. How about SWL 34? SWL 35. And that should be our Cheyenne, Wyoming station. And I should scroll down the list and see who is out there waving a hand. That's a good way to do it. I don't see... Hopefully they're not snowed in up there. Over to SWL 36. And a station... We have a few like Roy, SWL 36, you can set your clock because when you call SWL 36, Roy is there at the microphonium and he gets checked in many, many times. Thanks, Roy. You're sounding good. All right, and if I didn't mention, we will be talking about checking in and generally discussing the tube radios here in about 16 minutes after the roll call, so don't go away if you are interested in that kind of stuff. Over to SWL 37.
37 here, Dennis, and good evening.
All right, you ran back into the Radio Shack there, and I think you said you were watching something, so we will be here till 10 o'clock.
Yep, boxing. Of course, I just look over my shoulder, too, but I can't hear it as good, so I just walk back and forth. Well, you see the layout.
Yeah, or maybe you can just have them, boxed there in the living room, and if you get too close, they'll knock you back into the Radio Shack. All right, thanks for checking in. SWL 39. Shortwave listener 40. SWL 41. And I'll try and go through the roll call tonight quickly. I see a lot of stations are saying that they have limited time tonight. So if you've stated that and have to go before I actually call you, you will definitely be checked in. No problem. I know it is a busy time, lots of things going on, relatives in and out, so sometimes it's hard to jump into the Radio Shack. Over a little closer to home here, SWL 42.
Good evening, Dennis. Let's get a triple play on 42, 90, and 137, and while you're at it, go ahead and throw in 135 for a proxy.
Okay, I can do all that. I will remember that. Those watching the S meter online says, wow. Yeah, we go 35 over on that signal. Sounding good, and we got everybody checked in. And for those wondering, when you see the S7, that is because I have the RF gain set to basically bring my noise floor down so that those listening in don't go crazy listening to the shh for 2.5 hours. So basically my noise level's at about an S6 or an S7 with the preamp on. That's why you see the pretty much S7 all the time when I'm not talking here. Where are we going? SWL 43.
Good evening, Dennis. 43, we're checking in. I hope you had a happy Turkey Day.
I did. I had a happy Turkey Day. I'm not sure if the turkey had a great time in all of this, but we're still doing okay, and I haven't managed to wreck it yet. You are sounding really loud tonight, doing a good job.
Thank you, Dennis.
Okay, Crazy Eddie. Let's go over to a station that's been listening in most of the afternoon, SWL 44. Mr. 360 Ray, good to have you along tonight, and thanks for listening in to the Old Tube Radio Network. SWL 45.
45 checking in on a noisy night.
Yeah, I have more static and things than I thought. I thought maybe the rain would clear things up. Maybe it just washed the dirt, blew the dirt around. I saw blue skies today in Fresno. Can you believe it? The sky was actually blue thanks to the rain. The fires are up north are being contained, so there's less smoke in the air and a little bit of breeze. So it was nice to be able to breathe. Sounded good, Paul. Hope you can hear me. And as you know, we will be available to check in some radios coming up.
Sounds good. You're making it through just fine, Dennis. Thank you.
And I see Ray is saying it is snowing where he's at up in Utah. Let's go over to SWL 46. Shortwave listener 47.
Okay. Well, I think this is working, yes?
You are working, over.
Oh, thank God. Yeah, the magic eye is winking and blinking. So greetings from the Radio Lounge, SWL 47, where, no, there is no lip syncing from the Radio Lounge. This is all live.
There is no delay. Well, sometimes it looks, I've watched my video replays, and sometimes the lip sync is off, but I guarantee you, like Mike says, we are definitely live here tonight. 27085 in Central California, the Old Tube Radio Network. Thanks for checking in.
Oh, yeah, no problem. And, of course, that was a reference to the all the hubbub about the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade, which was, well, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, tell me about that later. For those of us who don't normally turn on the television, if we had one, and what was going on there. All right, SWL 48. Sometimes Sam will check in via alternate routes. I'll keep an eye out there. SWL 49. SWL 50. SWL 51.
51 checking in at 4 hours, 19 minutes, coordinated universal time.
You made me look up to my Micronta big 2-inch LCD or LED display, and it just switched to 420. UTC checking in SWL 51. That is 305 Dave out near Sanger with some great audio. Got a few stations coming in now that give you a run for the money with the new SDR radios. But boy, that thing always does that thing. Your radio always does sound good. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you, Dennis. Have a good evening.
That takes us to SWL 52. The station that got it started off is 00 SWL 53.
Once again, 53 checking in.
It's the Black Friday special here at OTR where you get the 2-for-1 check-ins. Thanks, Bob, and I'll get to turn the page.
Thank you.
SWL 54. SWL 55.
55 checking in.
55 checking in. Good to hear you. M&M up where it is cold. I'm sure it's, well, I don't know. There was snow up Yosemite. Have you guys got anything up there?
Not here, but in the higher elevations. Last weekend I tried to holler. You couldn't hear me. I burned up a vital piece of instrument.
Oh, no. Yeah, I've looked and it was blank, and hopefully I was paying attention. So, sorry about the flame out there, but whatever you're doing now sounds good. We are on the Direct Net roll call, page 3. Tube radios are coming up shortly. SWL 56.
Good evening, Dennis and the net. 56, just for kicks.
Well, I feel like at the end of the day here, I feel like I've been kicked, but in a good way. In a good way. We've got you checked in. Thanks, Phil. SWL 57. SWL 58. Shortwave listener 59. SWL 60.
Thank you so much, Dennis. Doggone it, you're so kind. Boys, it's a shame Fresno State wasn't so kind with San Jose. 1331, boy. They're doing it. Hey, SWL 60 checking in this 291 base, the 2527.
And as always, sounding good doing it. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Dennis.
Let's see if SWL 61 is on frequency.
61 checking in, Dennis.
Love that radio. I never see the meter move, but I hear loud audio. Just like I look over and it's like, well, the meter's not moving, but man, it's that loud. Thank you, sir. SWL 61, Dean.
Thank you, Dennis.
There are all sorts of ways to get your amplitude modulated signal across. That is one of them. Let's see how Rex is doing with the old transmitter in Old Town Clovis. Lucky Lindy, 62.
Right, channel.
All right, nothing here from 62. Sometimes I can hear him even if he's got no audio. Speaking of no audio, let's talk about a lot of audio. Hello, 50.
A little late, but here, checking in.
All right, somewhere in my hand here, I'm holding the right page to put the X in the square. Here it is. So let me do that, and also mark you on the big screen for all to see. Thank you, Mark.
No worries. Would you also check in 48, please?
And 48. Okay, we got Sammy in there as well. Thanks. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the poster child for the Screaming Eagle. Man, that radio is loud. Let's go over 60. Let me call 62 again. How about SWL 63? That would be our New York contingent. Which is unusual. I do not see any New York stations on at all. No, we have a couple, so must be a lot of stuff going on. Who's out there? New from Wichita Falls, Texas. And of course, the Bob and Steve show out there in Oxford and Westchester, Ohio. Thanks, guys, for checking in there. Let's try SWL 64. SWL 65. Shortwave listener 66.
Go TR.
the break OTR. Go ahead.
Dennis, can I proxy 65, please? And I forgot to answer your question. It's raining here, but in the high country on Thanksgiving we got a foot.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, snow is good. Snow is a good thing, I guess. From a guy down the flatlands saying, yeah, snow is good. I don't have to shovel anything. Well, nothing freezes down here. And who are we checking in? We're checking in Eric, SWL 65 as well. All right, got it. That takes us to Bill, SWL 67. Thomas, SWL 68, who I do not see. Well, wait a minute. We've got Texas in there, but I don't think it is the... We got two Texas, Wichita Falls and Austin. Representing our Texas stations tonight, Thomas is from Frisco. Sometimes he shows up at a different location. So I'll hang on. See if he pops in there tonight. Over to SWL 69.
69, checking in, Dennis. It's Mustang 2.
Mustang 2 hasn't missed a beat here in the last month or so. Still sounding good. And we've got you checked in. Thanks, Ken. SWL 70. Well, how about that? Ask, and ye shall receive. There is a New York station, so that'll qualify to get 63 on the board in the East Coast. Big Iron. The sound of the Big Iron from the East Coast is on the board here at the Old Tube Radio Network. Probably, where are they at right now? If you've got a decent antenna and you're at 3885, 3880, 3890, you will hear the big AM sound out on the East Coast. The West Coast guys will be down at 3870 or somewhere in there if they're out there, and I'm sure they are on a Saturday night. The Old Tube Radio Network, our rigs will be coming up in just a moment. How about SWL 71? And I did see Stan in there checking in. Oh, yeah, okay. He has got places to be, places to go, things to do, whatever. So, Stan, thanks for peeking around the corner into the Radio Shack tonight and waving to all the Old Tube Radio operators. We've got you checked in. Over to SWL 72. SWL 73. SWL 74. And I'm going to get a proxy in for 74 because I'm sure probably whatever 25 was saying that I didn't hear had something to do with checking in. Miss Jilly, how about SWL 75? SWL 77?
77 on the old Tower of Power. We're checking in, and good evening, and 73s to all the listeners.
The Tower of Power is still beaconing quite nicely. And you're sounding good, looking good on the S-meter too. Thanks, Dennis. We had a little fun on sideband earlier. Dennis 77 and SWL 7 on the new rig and myself checking out some sidebands, which we used to do. Was OPP is out there. He was net control on the Friday night, what we used to do, a Friday night sideband tube radio net, not limited to tube radios only, but a lot of the stations that had tube radios with sideband, we'd fire up on Friday nights on this frequency and to check them in. That reminded me of that when we got on sideband today a little bit earlier. How about SWLs? Let's see, where are we going? Make sure I call the right numbers here. 78. SWL 79.
Put the hammer down.
And he said he's never going to call my number, and I finally got around to it. Sounding good, sir. We got you checked in. Over to SWL 80. Page 4, SWL 81. SWL 82.
82 checking in from the ditch banks of Biola.
And the double ding, ditch banks, for the ditch banks of Biola. Mr. Ron, sounding really good. Sometimes a little rain keeps the dust out of the ditch banks and the signal goes farther.
10-4, that's right.
Thanks for checking in here on the old Tube Radio Network. We will be talking with the glow-in-the-dark radios coming up here right after the roll call, so stay tuned for that. Let's go over to SWL 84.
Hey, 84. Good evening, Dennis, and I hope all's well there in the studio. Oh, yeah, and say howdy to Bozo and Scooter. Haven't heard from them in quite a while. And if you could check in my girls, I'd really appreciate it, there. Roger.
Not a problem. Can do. You are sounding good in the air chair over there tonight. Thanks for checking in, and we'll get the 3 in a row coming up here in just a sec.
Good hearing you, Jerry.
Jerry is another pro at being a net control station on the, I think that's the 40-meter band out there. Let's see, where are we going? Let's try Reedley, SWL 85. And I'll check sometimes. I'll get John will check in on the big board. Let me see, I don't want to miss anybody that's out there. SWL 86, 87, and 88. That's the Mountain Maid, Tandy Girl, and Snowy Owl all checked in, taking us up to SWL 89. SWL 90's got the check in. How about SWL 92? I heard somebody trying to come in there. Normally, I hear Chuck a little bit better than that. Is that the 92 over? Any confirmation on that? Okay, I think that was Chuck. I'd hear him just a little bit better than that. How about SWL 93?
Fresno Sandbagger 93 checking in. Hey, I got a question for you, Dennis.
This is the answer frequency, I hope. Go ahead, sir.
I tried to look you guys up on Facebook, and it came up with a gentleman, an older gentleman with glasses, looking at you. Is that the Facebook page?
Well, that's an interesting way to put it. Yeah, I think that might be the main page. Yes, you know what? That is Smilin' Jack, and I don't remember his SWL number, but that's his collection. And he and Jim, Dr. J, SWL1, that is a photo out of the Fresno Bee, and they did the Bee did an article featuring his collection. That's at his location there for featuring the old Tube Radio Network, and I'm thinking it might be on actually the verbiage to that might be on the Facebook page somewhere, but I'm not sure. Actually, that might be over at oldtuberadio.com, but that would be the correct page. Over.
Okay, because I went to oldtuberadio.net, and when I went to the comment section to check myself in, it kicked me over to Facebook, and let's just say I got lost, so I didn't go through it, and that's why I'm trying to find out if I'm on the right one or not. Because if that's the right one, then I'll stick with it and I'll try again.
That is the right one. So I'm not the only one that takes a wrong turn at Albuquerque when I'm trying to do Facebook. That is the correct one. As you know, there are many places to click and go and check out on Facebook. So probably the best way to start is look for the photos sections and start there. And that'll keep you busy for a long time. So we've got some great photos of the rigs that people have sent in. And a good way to do it. And also, if you are at oldtuberadio.net, the page that has the streaming audio and video with the lighted tube that is glowing right now, if you go to the top of the page, there is a Facebook button. If you put your mouse cursor little finger thing on that where it says Facebook, it will light up and you can click on that, and that will also take you to the Old Tube Radio Network Facebook page. Thank you, Louis.
Okay, well, look for me up on that comment section up there in here in about 30 minutes. I got dish duty first, so about 9 o'clock I want to start trying to see if I can get into that way, because I'd like to know if I can do it or not.
Okay, I will check it out. Usually after I'm done here or at some point in the next 24 hours, I will go over to this Facebook page and look at the comments to see if anybody has checked in there that I missed. Sometimes I get a notification of that, so a good way to do it, and you will get checked in because you'll have a date and a timestamp on there, no problem. All right, thank you.
All right there, Dennis, I'll let you have it back. We'll be clear.
Clear on 27085. Glow in the Dark Radio is coming up. Looking for SWL 98. Shortwave listener 109. SWL 110.
Break 11.
And the break 11, probably on the back side of my little piece of paper here. Go ahead, sir.
Hello, Dennis. How the heck are you, man? 70 checking in, please.
70 is checking in. Mark, I'm doing good. I've got my 1969 jacket on tonight to go with our glow-in-the-dark radios that will be checking in soon. And for this, at least this weekend, there are more turkeys other than me running around, so I'm safe.
Beautiful. I think that was first man on the moon in Woodstock, right?
Oh man, I don't know. I wasn't there. The Buick didn't quite make it through Connecticut.
I wasn't either, but I heard it. I heard it in I don't know, read it in a history book or something. All right, thanks, man.
All right, I didn't even make the Ratcliffe Stadium debut of the Stones, so I don't know. Where am I? Guess I'm set up for a Donovan concert and maybe Buffy St. Marie. All right, sir, you are sounding good here on the Old Tube Radio Network. We called. No, we did not. We were just about to call. Moments away from calling SWL 111, who checked in earlier at oldtuberadio.net and said he was having lots of static and things of that nature out in Reedleytown. So, Robert, if you are listening or watching this in the future or in the past, as the case may be, we've got you checked in. SWL 113. SWL 114.
114 checking in.
114. Hello, Wayne. There's another station. I mentioned there are a few of our shortwave listeners that have been checking in for so long on time that I don't need the WWV UTC clock. I just wait for you guys to check in and know. Oh yeah, it's that time again. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the check-in.
We are heading over to the digital shortwave listener big board for SWL 128. John Lee and company, who also cannot stay too late tonight. So hopefully if you're listening in, we've got you checked in. If you watch later, you are definitely checking. Doing a remodel. I need to go in and make sure the contractor didn't screw anything up. That never happens. Oh, certainly that never happens, huh? Well, let's see. I haven't done any remodel. I got some remodeling of the Radio Shack here. Did have a roof put on a couple months ago. And I don't think anything went too awfully wrong. I think somebody stepped through the roof only once. So that's how it is. Anyway, it sounds like you've been there and done that. So get some rest so that you will be in a really good mood tomorrow, regardless of what you find. Thank you for checking in. Let's go over to SWL 103. For some reason, I have you stuck in the wrong spot here, but you already know that. SWL 103. It looks like Mr. Cheesy Easy is away from the radio, but as you all know, you can check in anytime while we're on the air before we sign off for your SWL check-ins. Over to SWL 131. SWL 133.
Good evening, Dennis. 133 checking in.
Sounding good, Dave, on the Old Tube Radio Network for the 24th day of November 2018. We've got you checked in.
Thank you, now.
Also checking in SWL 135 Cliff and SWL 137 Phantom. And heading over to a guy that gets busy. He gets busy this time of year. People wanting Christmas music and whatever else takes place. SWL 147. And I believe I did see Kakalaki in the house. Cold. Feeling like winter already. Wouldn't you think? And the end of November. And he hasn't been near a radio much this week. I saw the Facebook picture. I know why. No time for radios. But as most of us have found out, like Neil did, that when you are by the radio, it is quite quiet. Looks like there's a conversation about DX and the sunspots going on over at the live video feed. So get in on that if you want. Give your 2 cents worth as to why the band is good or not good. Or maybe you just need a new radio. And you get that new radio and you will find contacts even on 5 watts. Thanks, Neil, for checking in. Let's go over to Course Gold, SWL 195.
195 checking in, Dennis. Good evening to you.
Good evening. Sounding good tonight. Rain has definitely helped our connectivity from up that way. Things are going good here. I hope likewise for you, and you're sounding good. Thanks for checking in.
Thank you, Dennis.
And then we will go over to SWL 226. And any stations I may have missed for an SWL check-in OTR listening?
Number 39.
All right. In the late check-in, I'm sorry you had to stand in line. It's almost like a Black Friday thing where you stand in line forever for that one purchase, but I appreciate that, Dan. Dr. Dan, SWL 39, checking in and sounding good. You've got the antenna and whatever positioned correctly tonight. Sounds great.
Well, I wish that were true. I'm glad it sounds good, but I don't know about the direction. I just forgot it was Saturday, that's all.
If it's, what is the movie? If it's yesterday, this must be Fresno. And if it's Saturday, this must be the Old Tube Radio Network. Well, I'm glad that the little bird or whatever it was sat upon your shoulder and said, dude, you need to get to the radio. And you did. So we got you checked in.
Funny.
All right. Boy, I haven't heard that sign off in a long time. That is a classic sign-off. All right, I'm going to run around, turn on some lights, be back. We will start the Tube Radio check-ins. Those who are on the live feed, you can stay right there. I'm not going to reset anything on that side. I will reset the audio for the archives. You will see your glow-in-the-dark 6L6 go dim for just a second, but don't be fooled. I wouldn't touch it because it'll be coming right back on. The Old Tube Radio Network standing by. And it is time once again for the Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, for music and the latest news from home and from afar, the station for you is
OTR, Old Tube Radio.
The station for you is
OTR.
The station for you and perhaps even you, the Old Tube Radio Network, in our 34th year, or close to it anyway, of checking in, listening for and talking about the classic tube radios, glow-in-the-dark radios from the Class D 11-meter Citizen Radio Service, 1958, when the FCC banged the gavel sometime, what was it, September, and said, yes, there will be that Class D service, don't have to take a test, do have to follow a lot of rules and be crystal controlled, and 20 years later, solid state takes over. But in between that time, we'll be revisiting that tonight with the sets that were manufactured by some of the many makers that are not around anymore, but there's radios still are, so stay tuned for that. OTR is standing by, and we're listening for radio number 1.
45.
And I should get my note paper here, keep me honest. And we will start off tonight with Paul, SWL 45, who has enough radios. I don't think you need one of those wood-burning fireplace insert stoves, because you have enough radios that if you turned on about 25% of them, I'm sure they would generate enough heat to keep the cabin and the shack warm up there. Hello, Paul, to you and Kelly. Hope you're having a good Thanksgiving weekend here. And at 8:48, I've got you logged in as Radio 1, and we'll find out what that one radio is. Over.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's real comfortable in here. The temperature isn't that bad outside, so the old tubers keeps it nice and warm here. Anyway, I want to check in my Helicopters Model CB1 little phone.
The Helicopter CB1. Maybe I knew that. Didn't think you had a CB1. I know Cliff, SWL 135, has a CB1, and that is the photo that we're going to use here in just a moment. And this is truly a classic radio from a classic manufacturer of, at the time, amateur radio receivers, amateur radio transmitters. They also did televisions and some other things. Their radios were still being manufactured in the U.S. And this was a pretty nifty thing that they did by taking a speaker enclosure, or what once was a speaker enclosure, and work it to become their premier first 11-meter Class D transceiver. Back to you for transmission. It sounds great, by the way.
Yeah, you bet. This is their first one on a tube radio on Helicopters. This had the famous magic eye on the thing, which I'm looking at right now. It's splashed in and working well. It's a pretty good sized radio, actually. This thing's 13.5 inches wide and 7 inches tall and about 8 inches long. Bigger than most of them. It will not work in cars unless you got 115 volts in there to make it work. They're set up for 115 volts, that's all. There's no places for the mounting brackets on this thing. Just a plain case. And it's plain all right with a magic eye in the top middle where the thing is at. You can see it on there, on that picture of Chris. Left-hand side got a real bright red light on the thing, and that's just to say when you're on there or when you turn it on. The right-hand side, it's got a volume control and an off switch, and in the middle, you have to push that bar every time to talk on the thing. It's got a push-button bar on the thing. Very neat old radio. They say you got 11 tubes in it, too. They did a top-of-the-line radio this time. Back to you, Dennis.
And it sounds great. It might have been their experiment, I guess, to see, do we really want to do this? And I think it was a cool-looking radio, and they sold well, so they came out with the other models, CB3 and the 4, and those were able to go mobile, 6-volt, 12-volt, because that was sort of how the 11-meter Class D was supposed to work. You got your call sign, and then you talk to stations under your sign, Unit 1, Unit 2, base, things like that. It really wasn't for hobby. It wasn't at all for hobby communications or for talking idle chit-chat to some other stations. It was more for, communications for business or husband to wife, things like that. So this radio worked out well for them. And as you said, 11 tubes. They've got that 5Y3GT rectifier tube. All other 6-volt tubes, the final amp, a 6AQ5. Real classic with the push-to-talk lever. And also, this picture from Cliff, and I'm going to scroll down just so we can see the microphone. It's the original Hallicrafters microphone. It looks like it's hardwired into the radio. And your audio is so good, I'm having a hard time believing that you haven't rewired that for a preamplified microphone or something, over.
Well, I didn't get the original mic like Chris had, which is normal for these radios. I've got a few of the originals on the radios, and I feel proud when I find one with the original mic on the thing. I wired in Electric Voice Model 727 ceramic banana-style microphone. And I found it on eBay it's a brand new mic, never been used. So I wired it in here, and well, I'll tell you what, it's the right mic for the radio. I'd love to hear this thing on the archives. Yeah, it's got a 2-wire earphone connection in the back, and it has what it calls a squelch back there. I never could get anything to do on the squelch. It's I don't know, maybe it's adjustable inside the radio, but it didn't do anything but just dim the sound down. Maybe that's all they had back then, I don't know. It's got a big speaker in the front. And like I say, it's just a neat old radio, real classic radio. This thing, I was lucky enough to see all the tubes of this thing are factory Hallicrafter tubes. Came out with it, so I really lucked out on that thing. Anyway, well, that's about it. Real proud of the radio. Back to you, Dennis.
I'll agree with you on the microphone. It really sounds good. That's a stock or an unamplified microphone, not the stock microphone, but it's got the right impedance match. And it really suits your voice and the radio well, so the radio is capable of putting out some nice audio. One thing that's missing that I don't see, which leads me to, it says it's a one-channel radio put out in 1959 called the Little Phone. That was their first one, the CB1 Little Phone. It's also in Sam's PhotoFax CB1, page 59, so that tells you it's one of the original issues. So there is no channel selector. It's a single channel, so you go in there, I guess, the case and plug it inside, or is the crystal socket somewhere accessible outside or in the back?
It's not really accessible. I came in from the back. It's not real simple to get to, if I remember correctly. I have to look in there, but it's just got a picture of one crystal. A lot of radios have pictures in the front where you plug them in, but this doesn't have that. Just one in the back. That's all it's got.
And that's good enough, especially for Channel 11, which is a great thing to have on a Saturday evening for the Old Tube Radio Network. Radio number 1 starting off, thanks to Paul on the Hallicrafters. Was it Bill Halligan and the group? Starting out in 1959, their first foray into the Class D radio service with the CB1 Little Phone. Sounding great. Take another transmission, and thanks for bringing it by.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I got another one here. I'm going to warm up. It's got a Magic Eye on it, too. I really enjoy the Magic Eye on the thing. It just brings back the old-time radios. No meters on it or nothing, just the Magic Eye tells you exactly what it's doing on modulation and everything. Very, very neat idea. Thanks, Dennis.
And thank you, Paul. I have a feeling that we will have some other Magic Eye radios checking in tonight. I don't know when the last issue on a Magic Eye would have been. They were all in the late 50s and early 60s, typically, that I can see from what checks in. As the radios as we got later into the 60s, they went in with modulation lights and meters and things like that, even though, as you can tell, the Magic Eye is a pretty cool thing. Who is online still with us tonight? Hello, Texas, Tennessee. We've got Edmonton, Alberta, Virginia, New Jersey, Georgia. Lots of stations in California, North Carolina. The Ohio gang is still out there, Pennsylvania, and just coming in, it looks like Narromanta, British Columbia. And there is a chat possibility. If you're over watching, if you click on the video screen, there are some people out there listening. And what's going on? They're talking about DX And there is up early tonight, the Sheriff of Nottingham checking in. Hello, Big Ben. I just noticed you over on the video side, saying good evening to everybody, and hope that we are all well and good. And so far, so good. I've donned the 1969 issue jacket. I think this came in, it was like, what was the detergent? Was it Does or something that Tammy Wynette and whoever used to say, you got it, usually like there was a dish or a towel, or there was something free in each box of Does. I think this was the free jacket that came with the Sears E.F. Johnson radio. Anyway, we are looking for radio number 2 on the Old Tube Radio Network.
37.
Hello, 37. Stepped around the corner, back to the Radio Shack. You are sounding good, and you are radio number 2.
I figured it'd be more than that, but now it's what, 4 minutes to 9, something like that. But yeah, anyway, I want to check in my general radio telephone, the Super MC11A 24-channel version of this here, and we are running this here with the handheld stock microphone.
Yes, another radio checking in with a stock microphone, and this is what I think is probably the original issue that came with the general radio telephone mode of operation. It's sounding great. Give us a transmission, and we'll go ahead and put up a shot of that radio.
Yeah, okay, well, oh, excuse me, getting a scratchy throat tonight. But yeah, it seems to be working tonight. I heard the other one on there. What was that one that was on here before mine? It was sounding pretty good, though. I know Paul was running that. I didn't catch what it was.
It was a Hallicrafters. It was a little phone, the original first issue little phone, the CB1 from Hallicrafters from 1959.
Oh, okay. Well, it sounded good, Paul.
I agree.
Hey, well, hey, this is my general.
The Super MC11A, the Hallicrafters of moments ago, coming in with 11 tubes. This radio has 9 tubes. The mic preamp with the 12AX7A, which helps out greatly, and of course the ECLL 800 modulator output tube. Did it get a type acceptance from the FCC? So don't feel bad about using it when the boys are in town. Give us another transmission, and thanks for bringing by Radio 2 tonight.
Absolutely. Just so they don't knock on my door saying it's too dang loud. I say, well, hey, this is what comes out.
Yeah, that is stock all the way. There is a plug or something in the back that you can, if it's wired or jumpered correctly, you can plug it in, and I think it puts the radio into what I'll call a business band output, or maybe a business band input. But you aren't doing that, so you're cool all the way around. Thanks, Chris, for bringing it by.
You bet, Dennis.
And you know what? The top of the hour is here. I think we missed our quarter hour, so let's head over, if I can find them. There they are. They're gathering around the microphone right at 5 at Universal Coordinated Time, 5 o'clock, 9 o'clock, our Pacific time, and none other than the OTR Jingle Singers.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, your favorite spot on the dial by far is known to you as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
The station for you is
OTR.
The station for you, OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network, and we are listening for radio number 3.
Break OTR.
45.
And 45, don't go away. We'll be coming right back to you. Step into the green room, but first we want to pick up the breaking station. Who is the break OTR?
65, checking in a little late.
Not a problem. Let me bring up the shortwave listener list, which is always on the ready. Always on the standby for checking in our stations. And my list, which is somewhere down in all the papers here. Eric, I will find you. And there it is. X. The X is in the square. I think someone actually proxied you, and you have your mafioso out for you, making sure you get checked in. But you are live and direct, so we'll make it a big X.
Roger that. Wasn't sure if I was proxied. I was coming in late, didn't hear much, but Want to make a transmission, so here I am.
And a good one it is, beaconing at 27085, which is our frequency of choice here in the Central Valley. That's channel 11. And then beaconing worldwide across the Universal Media Net web at oldtuberadio.net. Thanks for coming in tonight.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And we will ask Paul to step up into the air chair, SWL 45, and I will also find my tube radio list that will put you in the number 3 radio position tonight. And I want to wave a hand and say hello to the mighty KUH. I wish I had my echo chamber and I could do that. And I say hello to Brian, who is, let's see, what happens on a Saturday night over there? Probably a little AM listening, perhaps. I don't know if there's any contesting going on. Brian has a good selection of whether he wants to fire up the classic radios or go to the 2000 or whatever. Anyway, Brian, thanks for coming in and saying hello to us tonight. And Big Ben is giving me some accolades for the jacket here that probably should have been many times stuck in the paper sack out for the Goodwill. But here it is. Here it is on the Old Tube Radio Network, making its maybe first and last appearance. Paul, are you ready to take a transmission on Radio 3?
Yeah, you bet. Is that jacket you're wearing to keep you warm, or do you need that heat in that room?
No, actually, there's a window off to the side here, and I opened that, and you mentioned it is warm tonight, warmer than it has been. It is 73 here in the shack. Normally it's been in the mid to high 60s, but we've got some tube stuff going on over here, so this is all for effect. Normally, all of us who work in radio don't have to really worry about how we look behind the microphonium, but once you start adding this video streaming stuff, that adds a whole new can of worms and everything. So my apologies for maybe not being as dapper as I should. Over to you.
No problem. It looks good, Dennis. Anyway, I want to check in my other Magic Eye tube, and this is a later model. Believe it or not, this thing was manufactured in Japan, and I believe it was made for the Robins, as the microphone is made in Japan also for this particular Robin. It's a Robin T123.
The Robin T123. I have another great picture that demonstrates the Magic Eye, and this is the different configuration. The other one, we're actually looking through the top, down at the top of the tube, and this one you're looking right at the side of the tube. I want to say it's a 6RE13, but I may be wrong. I'll put up a shot of that. And Mike, SWL47, I hope you are listening tonight, because he is another station that can help us in our goal to grab as many of the Magic Eye tubed radios as we can here on this session of the Old Tube Radio Network. There it is, the Robin T123, the Magic Eye right in the center, where this one, the top and the bottom, the illumination on the top and the bottom, as they get closer together, in theory that represents you getting closer to 100% modulation. Over.
That's correct. This one has no way to get into 12 volts or anything on the thing. It's just strictly for base radio. It has no holes in the side for the mounting brackets. Anyway, this thing has, like I said, a Magic Eye on the thing, and one of the later radios, I don't know of any other radios that have that Magic Eye in the late 60s, early 70s when they made this thing by Panasonic. And there was a lot of radios made, but this one doesn't look like the normal radio, like the 123Bs and all that. This looks, this different radio, smaller radio, very classy, very clean. It's got a nice modulation meter on the left top side. It's in red. Believe it or not, it glows red in the thing. That's factory. And it's got a white little light below that. It shows you when your power's on. And I love that eye. It just flashes back and forth. It's saying I get 100%. I guess, yeah, I would think I get 100% modulation on the thing. And other than that, it's just a real clean radio. This microphone is nice, made in Japan. I've never seen another mic look like this. So they made it up for this radio alone. Very nice radio. And I don't know what else to say with it. It's a classy radio. Back to you.
is a classy radio. Nice and loud. With the next model, the T123B, they got rid of the Magic Eye and put in the pilot lights for modulation and whatever, but this is nice. We've got a great picture, and you've got a great signal and good audio. In fact, it's giving it a lot of forward movement on the digital S meter, which I will switch over to. So when you take another transmission, and maybe if you watch the video later on, or somebody does, they can see exactly how it works with the audio on the meter. So back to you for transmission. I love the Robins. This is the first in the trilogy. And the Magic Eye, I think the Magic Eye is going to do well tonight. Over.
Yeah, I believe it is. That's for sure. These Robins they're made in Japan, and they followed it pretty close what Panasonic wanted done. They didn't make it pretty close. They made it the way Panasonic wanted it made. They did a good job on everything on the thing. They're solid radio, and they'll stay on the air a lot longer than a lot of other radios will. I guarantee you that for sure, and you know that too, Dennis. Okay, hey, well, other than that, it's just a real pretty radio, real classy. Back to you.
Back to me in the studio, the Old Tube Radio Network. Sounding good, Paul, on your Robin T123. And we will be looking for radio number 4.
Comment?
Comment, go ahead, please.
Just watching the waterfall on this, and Paul, there's on that last radio, it's weird, the carrier floats around a little bit as he talks. It's the first one I've seen that way, and of course it doesn't affect the audio in any way, but yeah, the variation of the carrier as he's speaking. When he doesn't say anything, it stays solid, and then it drifts over just about a half a K as he's talking.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't had more of the radios do that. Sort of as the crystal, as things warm up, shifts frequency just a little bit. The audio equivalent of that would be us to go on sideband and zero beat. You'd hear the go up, and Ed has a visual display of that with a scope. So pretty cool. I think back in the day, back in the 60s, when a lot of people, in the novice stations doing CW, when you were crystal controlled with the novice bands, I remember hearing a lot of people saying they used to have one hand on your code key and the other hand on the VFO as you would chase the station you were listening to up and down the band as they moved around depending on what that crystal was doing. So you have proved that our tube radios are up to the challenge here.
Well, there you go. The first radio was actually at 8464. Then Chris's 37, he was at 8476. And Paul's was 8481, but it was wavering around, so it varied.
The other thing you get to see is the amount of audio, frequency response going in the band and the bandwidth as well. So pretty cool. It gives everybody their own unique little look. It's so used to just staring at the S meter. Now you've got that whole other visual thing to figure somebody out. And that's the other thing. You can peg somebody's radio when they key up and you see it's shifting in frequency. I know what radio you're on. Let me get a check-in and say hello to Oklahoma City, just checking in. Seattle, Washington, hello to you. We've got, X4000 checking in. Hello, radio. Hope you had a good Turkey Day and all the things that go with it. The Old Tube Radio Network here. We are standing by listening for radio number 4. Ooh, on an interesting sounding item of interest. Hello, 45. We'll put you down on Radio 4 if you can hear this station.
Interesting. I've never heard this on the archive before. I don't know, first time I've taken it in. It's been sitting out in the container. This wasn't in the barn, this is in my container. And I'll tell you what, Dennis, I can't send you a picture of the thing. It's got little boxes and everything mounted everywhere on it. It had no lights in it. I couldn't see where we were at on the thing when I stuck it in, but I put new LEDs in the thing, and it's working good as far as the light. And I think it's working all right. I don't know what it sounds like out there, other than there's a meter saying it's getting plenty of modulation, and I can get more about it. Back to you. It's a Pierce Simpson Escort.
Pierce Simpson Escort. Okay, so it sounds loud. It is loud. There is not a lot of high frequency response in that microphone. So it doesn't have quite the punchy audio, but it's nice and loud. So we'll talk about the microphone. I wonder if you could have possibly a bad element in there. Pierce Simpson Escort is what I believe you said. So let me find a Pierce Simpson Escort in the video stream here, and we'll talk about the microphone. But it's got plenty of audio. This looks interesting. It almost looks like a scanner or something. Let me get the video up, and then we'll, if I can get it. Yeah, there it is. Go back to you. But it looks like you said it's got some lights or a colored light display across the top of that center display over.
Yeah, they do. They had that string tuner on the thing too, which is really neat on the Escort also. Anyway, back to this thing. This has what they call a full gainer mounted. They mounted it under the front of the thing, so it kind of sits up like you got it on a pedestal. And it's a full gainer model CB1. It has its own microphone built into the thing. It's hardwired. It's made by M&S Electronics Incorporated in Tennessee. It's got adjustment on the thing. I can crank this thing up, and the modulation is just way too high on the thing. So they had it planned out where you get good modulation. The wattage is low. It's stock model. The wattage is stock all the way. Not anything extra on the thing. And I can't see with modulation. It's pretty good. Anyway, the microphone is an OC. Let me look at it again here. ECI, if you've heard of that. This goes with the full gainer. Back to you.
Interesting. I'm just wondering if you had something like a D104 that has a little bit more high frequency presence to it, if that would help the clarity of the audio. It's very loud, as you will hear if you listen to the archives. And also, I had the S meter going, and it moves quite well. I've got a cheat sheet chart Escort, the Pierce Simpson Escort, 5 watts input, AM. Says it's 8 channels, transmit and receiver, maybe more than 8, so it might have a special item in there. It's tunable receive, it shows 117 or 12 volts, super heterodyne receiver. And the original price, in 1963 to 65 is the manufacture date that I'm showing, and shows a price of $229.50. I think we have an advertisement that may have a price on there, but that seems like that was a pretty high price for radios back then.
Yeah, by golly, you know what? It's an aesthetic mic. I got up to the right on the factory tomorrow. It's a 65 aesthetic mic on the thing, so it's stock all the way. And it came with this full gainer. I can't say anything more about it, but it sure, somebody sure spent a lot of time drilling holes in the thing. It's a shame. But anyway, it's still working. That's one good thing about it.
Working is a good thing, and it appears, and I guess that's what that is down in the center bottom is the S meter. It has that Pierce Simpson, they love that little tiny rectangular S meter in most of their radios.
Yeah, you bet. It is the small one. The thing's sitting up. I'm kind of sitting down. I got to look over down into the thing so small as here. But it's working, moving, so they got it right on the thing. Like you say, it's got different colors on the numbers above it. It goes up on the 7, 9, all that, whatever you put into the thing. And below is the tuner, the receiver tuner on the thing, on the bottom. Like a VFO down there, kind of right. So they had everything just about right. This isn't my favorite Pierce Simpson, but it's a nice old radio. At least it used to be. I got one like this that's not all beat up like this, and it looks really, really nice. But somebody had a better idea, and it's still working.
It's working great. Pierce Simpson was really good about, I'll call it ergonomics and laying out the front panel and designing. It's always very clean. This is not quite a Guardian 23, but you can see how they designed the Guardian 23 and their later radios in the next year or two off of this style there. Talking to Paul, he's got radio number 4 here on the Old Tube Radio Network tonight, and we're listening to his Pierce Simpson Escort doing a good job from possibly 64 to 2018. Back to you for another transmission, and we're glad you were able to bring it by tonight. You're giving us some great stuff. Over.
Yeah, this also got this number on the thing. It's a KBN-1593. That's a pretty early number because mine's a KHL. So a KB would be right probably the first part of the numbers when they give them back in the 50s, when they give you numbers out on the thing. So I didn't take it off just for that reason. It's kind of interesting. But the guy knew what he's doing, but I sure don't like the way he tore it up, but it's working. Thanks again, Dennis.
37.
And 37, well, gosh, it must be the Handyman Special, but still works great and sounds good here on the Old Tube Radio Network tonight, where real radios are glowing in the dark. Let me get my list here. Chris, step on up to the microphonium in the air chair. You're going to be radio number 5. I find my list and say, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Dennis, well, I'm going to check in my Chris 23 Plus CB transceiver. 22 channel tube that glows in the dark. And I'm running this in here with the handheld original microphone.
Right.
Chris 23 Plus with the handheld original microphonium, which is a lot of the radios tonight. I think all the radios have had, well, if not the stock, but close to stock microphones on them. Let me grab a picture of the Chris 23 Plus, running the infamous 23-channel, what is it, Mitsubishi or Toshiba Panasonic chassis. You're sounding good. Breaking station, we will be right with you, but first, let's hear another transmission on the Chris 23 Plus.
Okay, Dennis, well, it's still working. I haven't had to do nothing to it tonight. It actually came straight on. Didn't have to mess with it. Normally I have to mess this thing here, get my receiver to come in, but hey, it worked, so I'm not complaining.
Nor am I, because the more radios that our operators can get to work, the more radios will fill up my tube radio list, and I get paid. I get paid a dime for each radio I turn in on the check-in list. And you remember the old days where Bozo Control would make up the names, and he'd have 500 or 600 names on the list, and of course we would go through them. Find out he may only have 3 check-ins, but doing good tonight, legitimately here with the Chris 23 Plus. It sounds good. Take another transmission, make the what is that? The modulation light or whatever that is on the front blink. I think, is that the one you say I can make it blink if I shout into my microphone? Anyway, back to you for transmission, and we'll pick up the breaking station.
I already changed radios.
Oh, you already changed radios. All right. Well, good for you. We'll take up the breaking station, and we'll come back, and you will be radio number 6. The breaking station, thanks for being patient. We're over to you from the Old Tube Radio Network.
Man, I bet you can't guess who it is.
Well, let's see. I'm running your audio into our super secret tube radio computer that analyzes the highs and lows and the peaks and valleys of your digital voice, actually in this case it's analog voice print, and it's telling me to go to page 3, and it's telling me to go down the page, and something about 64. Over.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, I would like to take credit for that, but I will give credit to our analog tube radio computer that accurately calculated and surmised your fine audio tonight. Mr. One-Eyed Jack, let me get the SWL list so that everyone across the universe can see that SWL 64 has been checked in.
Thank you. My mic's squealing.
No squealing on the microphonium tonight. Over.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and thank you for checking in. As we said, as we often say, you can check in your shortwave listener item anytime, and most importantly, you do not have to have any type of number on any piece of paper to come by and say hello, to take a transmission, to bring your tube radio by. We are not a club, just a voluntary association of people that have been hanging around for some of us, well, longer than 34 years, but at least for the old Tube Radio Network. Been listening and talking on things for all that time, and that's the whole point of this, is to kind of recreate when these radios were first jumping out of the box into your living room or your workshop or your 1965 Ford Falcon on the dashboard. This is how the radio might have sounded. This is everybody just having a good time and being nice and talking about whatever. And maybe you would have heard a lot more call letters, that's for sure. You would have heard a lot more people using their call letters. But other than that, we try and keep this as true to form as possible. Speaking about true to form, Radio 6 is online with us right now. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Dennis. Well, Dennis, this time here I'm going to check in. My Courier Royale, a 23 count tuber that glows in the dark. This is the one that has all the blinking lights and all the knobs and everything, but we are running here with the amplified D104 Lollipop, and also we got that hidden mic in behind the radio too.
They just ran out of real estate on the front of that radio, perhaps. Let me see if I get a shot of it here. There it is. The top of the line Courier, I think, was their last tube radio. According to the ads, the one that was made for the CEO of the company. This was the one in their advertising that they put together to present to the boss. So it had to be perfect. It had to have every conceivable knob and dial. Like you said, they even stuffed some on the back just to make sure they had enough in there in case somebody decided to look on the other side. Courier Royale. It is 11 tubes. There is a service manual, believe it or not. If you go to oldtuberadio.com, a service manual available for that radio, and it has a few other features which we'll talk about in a moment, but back to you for transmission.
Well, yeah, it's working. It sounds good over here. You sound good on this one here, Dennis, I have to admit it. This one here, of course, this makes it kind of nice because you got the deals for tone, sensitivity, what else is this thing got? It's quieting, sensitivity, tone, volume. There's another tone. I got two tones. All right. Yeah. Tone, yeah, tone, and let's see. Yeah, they're both tone. And of course, squelch. But yeah, you know, and of course the channel selecting.
As long as you know what they do and when to crank them, that's a good thing. What microphonium are you using on the Courier over?
I am running this here with the D104 Lollipop.
Okay, because that radio, and it comes and it goes. Sometimes it has more, I notice it more, sometimes more than other times. The audio will come in just a little, I don't know, muffly is a good word. It's nice and clear and loud, but it doesn't have that sharpness around the edge like some of the other ones do, and it's hard to tell if it's a possible microphonium thing, if it's just, you know, if you get into it too much or if you back away, if that would help, or if it's perhaps something in the radio. Let's see, does it have a 12AX7? No, it does have. What it does have is a Collins 6 kilohertz mechanical filter, but you notice, or you mentioned that it made me sound good, and that's probably part of that. So any radio that makes me sound good, I'm not going to speak bad of. Over.
Okay. You know, I made a mistake here when I was telling you all the knobs. I'll start from left. It says squelch, tone, volume, tune. I'm looking at it here and it looks like an O from here, so I said tone. But it's tune, and then sensitivity and quieting. I had it backwards. I had it wrong, put it that way.
Okay, you can tune your tone. Before you go, we'll take a test, if you will humor me here for just a little bit. I want to just document something as we do the test here. Give me the next transmission, give me a little chatter at the normal distance from the microphone that you would be, and then without raising your voice, get real close to the microphone, but don't raise your voice, and maybe say a few words, and then take the microphone maybe farther back, obviously, than you would normally talk, and I want to hear what the difference is to see if it changes the tone quality at all. Over.
Okay. Well, right here is where I normally talk to you at. This is about 3 inches from the face. There is about roughly 12 inches. Now, right there is actually sitting on the table. I'm leaning back. That's what? Maybe 24 inches from the base, I guess, or somewhere right in there.
Okay, now give me one right up on the microphone, but don't raise your voice.
Okay, this is just like I was talking just a minute ago, and this is right up next to me.
All right, well, that's what it's supposed to do. It gets louder. I was just trying to see if it would get more distortion. Didn't seem to get as much as I thought. And when you were back, there didn't seem to be much of any, but of course you're undermodulated a little bit. So just to test, in case we ever want to go back into the archives here and see what's going on. But it is definitely a player on the old Tube Radio Network, the Courier Royale, 117 volts or 12 volt DC if you got the right cord plugged in, and you can find more about it in Sam's PhotoFax CB14. You are Radio 6. Give us another transmission, and thanks for bringing it by.
There you go. I made it sound like an eagle for you. All right, Dennis, thank you.
That you did. I was trying to think, okay, who's keying up? That's the screechiest, scratchiest eagle I've heard. I did not recognize that. So it was your Browning, as Harvey would say, your Browning Golden Beagle.
Yeah, that was definitely a beagle, huh? I'm going to get out here and fire up the other one.
7.
Speaking of the Browning Golden Beagle, 7, go ahead.
Yes, this is the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB.
Sounding good, and I'm just wondering if you're having trouble with the learning curve, and you're sitting there touching the knobs, hoping that something happens, and you realize, no, I have to actually grab them and turn them.
You know, I just kept grabbing it and touching it, and I just couldn't figure out. It just wouldn't do anything. No, I knew how to actually grab the knobbins and make it work. Still know how to operate the old tubes. This one says it's on the air because it has a nice little light on there that tells me that I am. And with that, I'll give it back to you.
You are indeed on the air, sounding quite nice, and SWL7 at Radio 7 this evening on our that is the first Browning, that is the first transmitter-receiver combination, I believe. And if I can find the right item to check here, we will, for those who are interested, I've got a really good shot of a Browning Laboratories Mark III SSB, and we'll pop that up as you give us a transmission.
And there we go. Yeah, it's kind of nice looking on the spectrum scope here and checking things out. So first time I've been able to see what I'm doing, and it's kind of interesting. All right, man, really like the Browning here, but I'm going to go ahead and switch over to another radio here and get a couple more in before you close out, because I've been just sitting here watching and listening.
Yeah, it's fun with the new toys, but it's basically better than TV. And you now basically have the TV. You can look at the frequency spectrum. It's just a great concept, isn't it? You can actually now look at the radios coming in. Before you have the S meter. That's all you had. But this gives you that footprint of what's happening and who is where. Good stuff. The Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB, their flagship, of course, starting in 1972. With the AM and the sideband models of such, and running until 1976, 77, when 40 channels came in and pretty much changed the face of CB forever. Original price of $650 to $750, way up there. But and I had a picture, and I don't have it, of the Browning Laboratories from 1962. There's a shot of the factory in is it Laconia? They have the assembly line, and just, all sitting in there, having a good time, soldering the components in. And I think there was a shot of them at Christmas time where they got the employees of Browning Laboratories getting their Christmas bonus of, and I think it was 1962, of 50 each. Everybody had a little bag of 50 silver dollars back when you could go to the bank and get silver dollars. So great radio, and just, it sounds like a great company too, a great place to work. So with that, I'm going to jump over. The Jingle Singers are saying it is time to do their thing, and that's what we will do here on the Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you, wherever you are. The friendliest station for you by far is known to all as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
Hopefully the station for you, Old Tube Radio Network, Real Radio's Glowing in the Dark. We are dressed to kill tonight in the 1970 jacket that was, I think, came free with every time you bought one of an old tube radio from one of the famous manufacturers, and it still seems to fit. A little scratchy around the collar, but that's okay. I can put up with it for a couple of hours here on the Old Tube Radio Network. We're looking for radio number 8. The breaking station, go ahead.
What does it mean when everybody swings backwards on my radio meter?
Well, it could be multiple items. One, it could mean that most of the stations that you are listening to are modulating in such a way that their RMS power is traveling backwards. That's a possibility, although I don't think that's the case from what I've seen tonight. It could also be a function of the radio, the power supply of the radio, especially if you have... I've noticed this on some radios that don't have the best power supply, like a built-in internal power supply. As you turn up your audio gain and make the sound louder coming out of the speakers, it's drawing a little bit more current, and the lights in the radio dim, and maybe instead of truly giving you an accurate reading of what's happening on the incoming signal, the voltage is dropping as the voice gets louder and pulls the meter back. That could be another possibility. What does it mean? It really doesn't mean anything. If you can hear them and your radio still works and you're not smelling that bad poofy smoke smell out of the radio, I would say probably not much of a concern. You might want to try turning the audio down, the gain, the sound on your radio, maybe turning it way down so you have to be close to the radio, and see if that changes the amount of how your meter moves backwards or whatever. And that's just a guess. Over.
Okay, well, I tried that. That didn't work. But, okay, it ain't gonna hurt it.
No, it should not. Should not. Just could be the way the radio is detecting the incoming signal as well. I don't think we have a station that has what I'll call super forward modulation. Of course, if someone went to sideband, you would see the meter move up and down quite a bit correctly. So again, I don't think that is we won't fault your radio perhaps for maybe not being as accurate on the S meter as it could. None of these radios are really in the range of test gear when it comes to S meters. Some of them might be. Now we were talking, the station we're talking to just moments ago, he has a radio that actually does have frequency counters and spectrum scopes built in. It is sort of like looking at test gear. But the average CB radio S meter, I wouldn't say it's a very reliable test item at all. Thanks for asking, and I apologize for not giving you a really good answer on that, but that's off the top of my head. The main point is I don't think there's anything to worry about at this point. Was there a breaking station for the Old Tube Radio Network?
Yes, there was.
Okay, well, sir, I do believe that you might have a radio for us, Chris, and if so, it'd be radio number 8.
Well, yes. I do have a radio for you, which I already gave that to you, but yeah. I've got another radio here for you to check in. This is the last one from mine tonight. This is the G PowerMate, the Gem Marine Products. This is a 23-channel tuber that glows in the dark. This is the pretty blue one that you seen here the other day. And also we're resident here with the amplified D104 Lollipop. Over.
one of our first radios to come through with an amplified microphone. Most of them have been working quite well with the stock microphones. But this one shows up really well on my video display system. Sometimes due to the lighting and the color, what I see and what is transmitted video-wise is not good. But this one is exactly what I see is what we get. The blue surround, that would be the whole case, the Gem Marine Products G PowerMate using the classic Panasonic chassis. And it is sounding good for Radio 8, over.
Well, this is the second one with the power mic. The one before this here, the Courier Royale, I have the power mic on that one also.
Okay, that's right. I got confused because I was thinking we were talking about the mic gain, and I mistook that for being the only thing that was amplifying, but the amplified mic and the mic gain will work as well. This is one of the, are they 11 tubes or 13 tubes? I think that they're 11 tubes with plate modulation. Different configurations on these. Some of them had a PACB, which I think this one does. Some of them had the range boost, which this one does not. And there may have been a different switch going in on the meter as well, but working quite nicely here at the Old Tube Radio Network.
Yeah, it seems to be working now. Yeah, it's got the primary, I think it's the same chassis as my Chris 23. But yeah, this here is working. This is here, I don't know, I can sit here and I look at the needle on this puppy here swing when I talk on it. On the radio itself, it jumps from 7 to almost 10.
That's a good thing. If you had a watt meter that wasn't on PEP, you might be able to see it sort of inching towards the plus watt side. Let's see, what was the other thing? Oh, I was going to, but you don't have the video. You don't have the video portion. I wanted to, well, I'll do that for the people that do. I'll get back to the interior cam here. And if I point up to that behind me there, it's sort of reflecting off the bluish light coming in. That is from Chris, who we're talking to right now. That's from his collection, but he has graciously donated it to the Old Tube Radio Network shack here, and I'm displaying that to the Hallicrafters CB3. It looks like even Bozo has put his touches on the top of that as well. Over.
Well, good. I hope you enjoy that over there.
I do. It's a nice little centerpiece or a back piece for the Radio Shack here. It's reflecting off the light quite nicely. And of course, Bozo Control was able to hang one of his favorite things on it, which of course is a statue of Bozo.
Well, I tell you, when I heard it the other day, it sounded entirely. I mean, it didn't even sound like that radio. Once you put through all your devices there you have, or your sound monitors and whatnot, the things for this and that and everything, it sounded good, Dennis. I liked the way that puppy sounded.
Yeah, it plays well. A lot of these radios will. I mean, they're built to have great audio, and if this is all the audio, the transducer you've got, but as you know, on your general radio telephone, adding thousands of dollars over the audio gear isn't going to make it sound much better. It's done quite nicely. So just like your Gem Marine Products G PowerMate, I want to say hello to Tim Tron, the Pacific Northwest, who's put the long wire and the ladder line and the tuner up on his YouTube transmitter and is waving a hand and saying, I see you and I hear you, just not over the 27085 megahertz. Oh, Tim, if you're listening, another member to the ICOM 7300 club here in town, SWL7, is burning the dust off of his brand new 7300 acquisition. So maybe you guys, we are in the zone here in Central California to where you are. So maybe you'll hear him on the 7300. He is enjoying it. And if you've got any hints or tips, and you've got a minute or two, go ahead and give him the Watt 4 there over on the chat room. Other than that, let me say, we're talking to Ed. All right, Ed, we're talking to Chris. I think that's it for your radios, isn't it?
Yes, it was. I'm already
I'm back over to the big radio now.
Okay, and I just saw Ray's post, and he mentioned that he had a radio that looked just like that, and he's reported that it's been stolen.
Oh man, Ray. Hey Ray, we got to find that person who stole that radio, man. We'll put all points bulletin out for it. Is there any certain numbers or marks that you might know?
All right, I'll keep you updated. In the meantime, I would keep your doors locked. The Old Tube Radio Network is looking for Radio 9, but first, let's head over to the Jingle Singers.
You're listening in the latest style at
27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio.
In wonderful
Fresno, California.
Hey, Dennis.
This is Dennis, over.
Yeah, this is Cheesy E103. Sorry for the late check-in.
Hey, not a problem. Let me grab the Old Tube Radio list here. Sounding good tonight. So that whatever you've done to your rig out that way has really brought the audio and the signal up quite nicely. I'm going to put the X in the square. And we're also going to go to the big board here for those who are listening in, and make sure that SW103 has got the check-in, and I've also got a crossband radio as well.
Okie dokie, thank you.
KB6 GFD. You have one for the other one?
40 checking in.
40, got it. KB6 GFD. And from the crossband, SWL40.
Number 7.
And from this band, SWL7, hello, Ed.
And hello. This time I'm bringing the Johnson Messenger 223.
Well, that radio does have, comparatively to what we've been listening to tonight, it has some nice, clear, good audio. No need to jump up and down or coil the cord or get closer or farther away. As we put up a picture of the 223, we hope, in frame there, and you can give us a transmission over.
There you go. Well, I can definitely see that this one is a bit off frequency, as with lots of Johnsons, it seems. Geez, I'm all the way on 82.42, so there you go. It's a wee bit off, but hey, AM doesn't have to be that exact, so anyway, real simple radio, just 3 little knobs and the S-meter, channel selector, and a speaker that does fairly well.
Yeah, nice big speaker. Decent size S-meter. And what did you say the frequency was? I'm going to, I'll do a 0B2. It doesn't sound like it's too far off frequency, but then again, I'm running quite wide here. So go ahead and take a transmission. I want to also do a frequency check.
Exactly. It looks like, yep, that should be just about it. About 8243 is about what I have, centered on that frequency, and
there you go. It is a bit off, like I said.
475 of mine.
Okay, you are right. As I get right up to 85, your tone starts to change, and I got it at 82, and it was way off. 82.51, and we determined, because I'm using you as the time standard now, I'm 8 off, 80 cycles, so if I get 80 from that, that's like 82.43 or 44. Is that what you had, 82.43, 44?
Yeah, it wasn't quite dead on. Let's see. It looks like there we go. About 8244.
Yeah, because I'm reading 80 high. That's good. That means my dial is still calibrated. So, all right. If anybody has one of the older radios that has the delta tune, go to your minus. Go to the minus, or would it be rotate your VFO, like the Regency, the B VFO, rotate it to the left, and you should change the tone just a little bit. Probably on the way Ed sounds, but that's looks like it's a pretty wide enough transmitter. Let's see. I take it when you switch antennas, the other thing is just dangling, picking up the RF, or it's on some grounded thing, so you're not overloading the front end, but there's enough RF coming in that you can see the scope. Isn't that great? You've got a piece of test equipment along with the radio.
Yes, I did. And no, it's actually in a dummy load, so the dummy load, it doesn't show up. I have the overload on there, and I've had signals that overloaded it, and right now it does not show any overload whatsoever, so great test tool also. Indeed, and Tim Tron is saying, so when you get the hang of that radio, which sounds like you already have, Tim is mentioning that there is going to be the big brother of that one coming up, probably to rival what Yaesu is coming out with on their 101D series. It's going to be called a 9700, and he says it'll have the 2 meters and 70 centimeters and 1.2. Oh, wow, all boxed into one. So save up your $7K for that one. There you go. I'm already saving up my pennies right now.
All right. Well, I think that one will last you just fine for a long time. But the radio we're actually talking about, the radio that you're listening to, is the E.F. Johnson Messenger 223, the flagship for Johnson from 1969 to 1972. That was their base radio. You could pair that with the Viking 1, the Whiteface, the Messenger 2, which basically that is, with 23 channels and an S meter thrown in. And then they started their solid-state radios about the same time, the 123 and the 323. So a lot of good selections from E.F. Johnson. You can't go wrong. Even if you find one that's not a tube radio from that era, you will probably be happy with it. Thanks for bringing it by.
Hey, thank you. Where else would we go with these old tube radios if it wasn't for here Saturday night? Anyway, I'll be back with one more radio.
All right, and we have, we're at 9:49, so plenty of time to get your SWL numbers or radios checked in or questions. Speaking of questions, let me refresh the comments on the main page, see if there's anybody having a question there. Doesn't seem like it, and so I will be standing by, and we'll be listening for Radio 10. The Jingle Singers say, oh, okay, let's go over to the other studio, where the Jingle Singers are telling us about that magic on Saturday nights.
What are the magic numbers?
27.085 megahertz, channel 11.
Are the magic letters?
OTR.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Radio Magic.
Old Tube Radio.
For you.
Hey, Dennis.
This is Dennis, over.
Yeah, okay, so the CBs, like, they transmit on analog, right?
I don't think there are any that do weird digital or special digital modes like the FM radios do, so yeah, in theory we are definitely analog here.
Okay, can it be hacked?
Well, what do you mean by hacked? I mean, since just about anybody can hear this as long as they have an AM, even an FM or a sideband receiver, it's pretty hard to be stealth.
No, I don't know. I was just talking to one of my friends, and he was talking about like hacking people, and he didn't know that, like the analog signal can be hacked.
Well, I'm trying to think. We're sharing the airwaves here, so the generic form of hacking in this case would be to come up with your own AM signal kind of at the same time on the same frequency, and then your hacking job would be determined by the amount of power you had. The more, if you could outpower the station that was on So you sort of take over, capture somebody else's receiver. I guess that would be a form of hacking, if you will.
Okay, no problem.
Now, some of the new radios do connect to the internet. The radio itself will have some interface that may give you a user, like a GUI or a usable control panel. Now we're talking, because you have gone from your analog radio has now got some type of a digital item. Let's say it's a control panel or a way to remotely access the controls, even though you may still be putting out an analog signal. And now that you are on the Universal Media Netweb, hackers can do their things to get into your radio and control the knobs, if you will. But there ain't many like that, and the radios we are talking to tonight certainly don't have anything like that.
Yeah. Well, all right, well, that's it. Thank you.
All right, and we are looking for Radio 10.
How about number 7?
Great. Putting us into double digits tonight. I really didn't think, being as this is one of those holiday weekends where everybody is out doing something or being required to do something other than radios, that we would get as far as we have. So I will gladly take whatever you have to get us into the number 10 mode of operation. Over.
There you go. Well, let's see. I'm going to have to kind of dial this one in just a little bit. Anyway, this is the Tram TR-27 Echo.
Hopefully it is showing up okay on the scope, on the display. Speaking about our display, I'm going to switch over so people can see the giant TR-27E, the flagship for Tram from 1963. There it is, and we were lucky enough to actually be showing the radio on which Ed is talking. So the radio you're looking at is the radio you will hear right now.
There you go. Oh, that's weird. It kind of keys up and then slides over on the frequency just a little bit. And once again, it's a little bit off. Looks like 83, 88, and maybe traveling. Yes, it is traveling as I'm speaking. I guess it floats around just a little bit. But anyway, here we are with there's the radio with the big 5x7 speaker, big old S meter, and Electro Voice, 638 microphone.
And sounding good. That's one of the nice things about AM. You don't notice if you're a little bit off frequency. Sideband, of course, if you're running full wideband audio, sometimes 10 hertz can drive somebody nuts if they really know your voice. And in this situation, we've proven tonight that 10 hertz, 1,000 hertz, 2,000 hertz, and it might not even be noticed that you aren't quite walking down the sidewalk in a straight line. But it does sound good. 1963, from their TR-27 series, there were a couple of radios in this Tram 23, 27 series. This was I think the last one. I don't know if it was the most expensive. I have a data chart here, but I'm not finding what I want. But if it wasn't, it was close to being the most expensive in the line.
Yeah, actually, I do believe it was. The C and D model were not outfitted with all 23 channels. That's the reason why the Tram 23 on the big front on the Tram there, because it does have all 23 channels when you buy the radio. And this basically was the flagship in 1963.
Indeed, I printed out this list here, but it's on front and the back of the paper, and then when you turn things over, one of them's upside down, and it's not in the most intuitive chart of how it's done alphabetically. So here's Pace. So I turn the page, we go to JCPenney. See, that doesn't help me. And then we're at Burstein, Applebee. Oh, here's one more page. Here's Polytronics. Getting close here. Tram. All right, let me see if I can read this in the low light. There was a 27 TR70, 27B, 27C, 27E, TR70, 70B. So in the 27 series, the 27B was $249.50. The 27C, wow, was $320. The 27E is showing at $273. So what's the difference? I have a feeling they probably came out with a C and nobody bought it. Well, that was 63 to 64 on the C, and then 65 to 66. And it could have just been technology. Things got cheaper. So this was actually cheaper than the 27C. Came out later. They're showing a price in the $275 range.
Not too bad. Of course, I didn't pay that much for mine, but there you go. Well, let's see. I paid $135 for it with shipping and everything. I don't think I did too bad.
Why, I think that's a deal.
And there you go. And with the microphonium, it's a pretty good deal. And with that, we'll go ahead and let you hopefully get a couple more tubes in.
All right, we will try to do that. 10 radios so far tonight before we sign out, which is going to be pretty soon. I wanted to go over to the video side and say hello to any of the news stations that are in. Hello to Oklahoma City. And Corey. Hey, Corey is with us. Glad you could sneak in here right at the end and wave a hand.
Let's do some spelling.
OTR. 27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio. Old Tube Radio.
Dang, I keep missing recording those.
Huh? What do you say?
I'll have to, I have sort of made the Jingle Singers pre-record some of these. I may have a semi-acceptable MP3 that I might be able to send your way. I'll have to see. It's on here somewhere that I am doing it, so I will kind of make a note of that.
Cool. I'm good on QRZ.
Yeah, if I can get to you from all those EQSLs you'll be having to fill out from making all those contacts. Now that he'll never get off his radio. It is 10 o'clock, but I am counting him out in here, so there's still time to check in that radio if it's warming up. Plus, I can't stay too late tonight because I got to get the suit back. It's rented. No, it's not a suit. It's just a kind of a jacket.
Rented it off a car salesman?
Probably. I'll just check and see if it's got a tag. I bet this is old enough for it's probably made in USA.
You know, you're supposed to look for the union label.
This might have one. Oh, there it is. Here is, if anybody's at oldtuberadio.net, there is the page from the book that it's showing, those are all employees. And I'll try and pop it up on the video here. It may not play too well on the video screen, but I will give it a shot anyway. There are the employees at the Browning Laboratories. What it looks like they're having that's the Christmas party, I guess, where they're all holding their bags of 50 silver dollars. And there's some verbiage underneath. But, I mean, a cool place to work. There's actually people there that touch the equipment and make it for you. That's why this stuff is still working 50, 60 years later. And it says, the caption, look closely. Chances are some of these women built your Browning. Let's see, 1962. So if you have a 23 S9 or an S9 or a R2700, this is probably true. Ray, that's cold. He says, Chevy Chase is looking for my coat. He's looking for his coat. That, or I thought maybe Steve Allen.
Milton Berle?
I don't know. I think Uncle Milty might have had something even with more class than this. This may be the new outfit. I may have to wear this all the time now. How does it? It doesn't play well. It doesn't really play well under the ultraviolet light there, but what can I say? Last call for check-ins on your old Tube Radio Network.
Just made it again.
I'll say, I mean, you just made it within seconds. I was just getting ready to do the foot switch of doom here. So go ahead, sir.
Okay. Number 20 on the usual radio, the Browning Golden Beagle R68T68 by Browning Laboratories with the custom D104 plunger for the toilet microphone with the Browning medallion on the back there. Okay, that'll do it for me. And we won't catch you next week because we're working, but the week after that.
All right, let me quickly pop up what you have, the R68T60, the Browning Golden Eagle Original. I forget, you are not that close to me, and I forget how well that radio plays, how loud it is being that far away. But it is a Browning. Of course, the Harvey range boost could come into play, but that's okay because it's perfectly matched and tuned correctly so that it enhances the quality of our Radio 11 tonight. Over.
Okay. Yeah, I have the range boost on. I thought, well, why not? Okay. Yeah, I'll be back in about 2 weeks. And we'll do it again. I'll try and have a different radio, well, another one besides this, I've been moving things around quite a bit. I've made another room in the garage and put up some racks and moved a bunch of radios around. And what I'm basically trying to do is take stuff out of here so I can move around a little bit better. And where I set it up out there, I will have a small antenna, but I'll be able to work on stuff out there along with in here. But basically, I'll be able to grab a radio from out there, bring it in here, check it in, put it back out there a lot easier than I can now. So that's what I've been doing for the last 2 months. So take about another month and I should have things somewhat squared away. Okay, that'll do it for me. We'll get back in a couple of weeks.
Good deal. We've got the proxy check-in marked, and we'll look forward to some possible items of interest from your Radio Shack to the Old Tube Radio Network. Thanks, Harvey, for giving us Radio 11, the Browning Golden Eagle R68, T68 version. Anybody else before we sign out? Okay, well, like I said, the jacket is rented here, so here we go. Thanks, everybody, for stopping by. If you stopped by, for watching, if you watched, or you're watching right now, whether it's November 24th of 2018 or November 24th of 2028. I don't know if the video will be up that long, but hope you enjoyed our offering from our Tube Radio operators of their collections tonight here on the Old Tube Radio Network. Shortwave listener check-ins tonight. We had 12 on page 1, 12 on page 2, 11 on page 3, and 15 on page 4 for a total of 50. This is week 5 of the 8-week roster. I don't see that we changed anything around or added anybody new. On the radios tonight, we went that close to having a 10-way tie for first place or rather, there's no first place, but for who the most, the manufacturer that checked in the most radios, let's see, the one we heard from the most. And then Harvey came in with the Browning and gave us a definitive winner with 2 Brownings tonight. So starting off with the Hallicrafter CB3A, no, I'm sorry, the CB1, with the Magic Eye, not the CB3A, it's a CB1. That is a totally different radio. The CB3A is sitting up behind my shoulder here, so thanks, Paul. We always enjoy, that is just the classic radio that got things started. You think, that radio came out, would people be interested? Would people get interested in CB 11-meter radio with the little push-to-talk thing and the little tiny microphone? And they didn't know any better, right? They didn't know you should have 23 channels and an S meter. It just worked. I mean, you saw how, you listened, you heard how great it sounded. That's probably what sold everybody. Millions of people later on would be rushing the airwaves because of that Hallicrafter's radio. Radio number 2, the General Radio Telephone Super MC11A from Chris. Paul had the Robin T123 that had the Magic Eye, like the Hallicrafters. Also, the Pierce Simpson Escort, that was Radio 4. Thanks, Paul, for that. Chris came by in his Chris 23 Plus Radio 5, and then he changed over to the Courier Royale for Radio 6. Mr. Ed on his Browning Golden Eagle Mark III for Radio 7 tonight. Radio 8 was Chris on the Gem Marine Products G PowerMate. Radio 9, Ed on the E.F. Johnson Messenger 223, followed by his Cham TR27E for Radio 10. And then, as you just heard, the very loud Browning Eagle R68, T68, checking in from the west side And they're disappointed because I did. Okay, hold on, because I just went blathering on. The Mr. Announcer's frowning at the microphonium. All right, here we go. Stand by.
This is the Old Tube Radio Network. Ladies and gentlemen, stand by. It's time now for the current OTR totals.
All right, thank you. I'm not going to say them all again, but that's sort of in their contract. If they take the time to show up, that we're supposed to use everything that they have provided for us. So thank you for that. The Jingle Singers never let us down, as likewise Mr. Announcer here on the Old Tube Radio Network. And likewise, you never let us down for keeping us on the air here every Saturday, starting at 8 p.m. with your Tube Radio check-ins and your good words and good thoughts. So good night, everybody. We will try this again next Saturday, perhaps with some newer radios, perhaps with something that you have had on the shelf and decide to check in. That's why we're here. And if you just like to listen in, that's a good thing too. That's why the shortwave listeners say hello at the beginning of the program here. Good night, everybody. Let's see if I missed any comments before I totally go away here. I have to refresh the page to find them. And what should be a fast computer is taking forever tonight. I think that's it. And I told those watching and listening over on the YouTube side, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks to Frodex. SearchLawrence.com. The Nixie Tubes will be up in just a moment. Have a great rest of your weekend. Don't spend too much, don't eat too much, and have a good time on the radio.
Dennis.
This is the Basic Dennis. Over.
Hey, this is Louie. I've been trying to get on the Facebook, and haven't been successful. So I just wanted to let you know before you left the air, I was not successful. So I'm going to try it again. So keep an eye out for me being in there, because I'm going to keep trying to do it, and because I want to try it, I want to do it.
All right, Facebook does require that you have a login, which I think requires an email or something and some questions, and then you go in with your name and a password. So if you have those basic requirements, in theory, you should be able to join the hip, wild, groovy social media crowd. Over.
Okay. Well, I know on my phone I've got Facebook, because I can go to my Facebook icon and it comes up Facebook. But then when I put in the OTR network .net into there, it takes me to the guy with the glasses.
Oh, you know what that's doing? That's taking you to the oldtuberadio.com site. I think what you would want to do, if you were actually on a Facebook, I'll take you there, is just type in the word Old Tube Radio Network. Don't put any .net or anything like that, because it will take you the wrong place. So just type in the words, the 4 words, Old Tube Radio Network, but don't put any anything. Over.
All right, I'll try that, and I'll see what happens.
Now, be aware that you may go to a page that has that guy with the glasses staring at you, which is we've posted as a cover photo, but you should also see and be able to scroll up and down the page where you will get things that are Facebook-like, that you can check photos and all of that. So it sounds like, yeah, with typing in the .com or .net, it may be taking you to the Old Tube Radio Network page rather than the Facebook page. So give that a try, and I will be on the lookout for your messages.
Okay. Now does that Facebook run every day, 7 day, or just on weekend?
The Facebook Old Tube Radio Network will be available at any time, as they say, 24/7. Also, oldtuberadio.net page is available 24/7. It's just you won't see the tube lit, the glowing tube, unless we're actually doing some live transmitting or receiving. But you will be able to access the video from the prior week's video will be up there all the time. So play around with it. It is daunting. I will definitely admit that. Many ways to go. It's like a maze. There are many doors to open, some of which might be the ones that you want and where to go. But give it a shot.
All right. Well, just keep an eye out for me on the network, on Facebook or the old network, the net, for me trying to check in. So, because I'm gonna try through the week and see what happens.
Yeah, I'll give it I think sometimes I get notifications too if somebody has left a message or something, so I will keep a lookout on that. So thanks for your diligence in trying that out. And then once you get to be an old hand at it, you'll be uploading photos of your E.F. Johnson. We can post up there, and maybe we can use that one to display when you're actually checking the radio. All right, thanks, Louis. Hope you're having a good evening. It is 10:17 here on the West Coast. Good morning and good evening and good night to all of those from your old tube radio network.
All right, Dennis. We'll hear you later on.
Good night, Dennis, and all the SWLs.
Thanks, Dennis.
And good night to the YouTubers.